Welcome and thanks for joining us on Real Investment News. We have a really special guest in the studio with us today, Sharon Yin. She's actually an attorney here in Houston, Texas, with expertise in digital currency and blockchain law. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Clearly, this is a huge topic, that we wanted to kind of go into a little bit more depth in here on Real Investment News and offer these guys something that some of the other organizations aren't. So, can you tell us a little bit first about yourself and what you do here in Houston?
Sure. So I'm a lawyer. I run a digital currency and blockchain legal practice. So I advise a lot of fintech startups in the space on corporate formation, compliance, and also structure a lot of ICOs, their initial coin offerings.
Okay, so you're working from the ground up with these guys,
Yes.
so you've got to know your stuff. So the very first thing that I'm going to ask, just to kind of get us warmed up a little bit, is what is a cryptocurrency, and can you kind of explain the difference between cryptocurrency and blockchain?
Sure. So cryptocurrencies are just digital currencies or digital assets. So such as Bitcoin. Bitcoin runs on what is called a blockchain. A blockchain is essentially a distributed ledger or a database, if you will. So what you have is on the Bitcoin blockchain, you have miners that compete to mine blocks. So each time on the Bitcoin network, there's a transaction. So say from A to B, B to C, those transactions get essentially recorded in a block. And the subsequent block is essentially tied to the preceding block. So for Bitcoin, on the Bitcoin network, there's a block every 10 minutes.
Okay, and how do I go about setting one up? If I wanted to set up a blockchain or a cryptocurrency, what do I have to do? What are my first steps?
Right, so if you wanted to purchase, say, Bitcoin, what you would do is, nowadays there are two major exchanges. So one is called Coinbase, the other one is called Gemini, and those are US-based exchanges. You basically sign up, get an account on these exchanges, and you'll be able to purchase Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Those are the most popular cryptocurrencies that are out right now.
Yeah, and speaking of popular, why are these the most popular? Why is Bitcoin the one that everyone is talking about right now? And is that always going to be the case? Is it always going to be Bitcoin?
Probably not. So Bitcoin's been around the longest. So it's been around since 2009. And I think it has the name and certainly a lot more users on the Bitcoin network. So that's why a lot of people are talking about Bitcoin. There are tons of other cryptocurrencies out there, roughly about 1,300 to 1,400, and they're significantly smaller with smaller user base. It's hard to say, whether or not Bitcoin is going to be the winner at the end of it.
Well, it's seen its share in cryptocurrency shrink exponentially. I think the last that I checked, it was at 36%, but this is probably going to change by the time, we actually show this to everybody. I mean, is Bitcoin going to disappear ever?
That's hard to say, but probably not. I think Bitcoin has proven itself to have a very strong use case and a very strong store of value. There's also more Wall Street institutional money that's coming in, and I think they're going to look at the larger cryptocurrencies, which would be Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin.
Okay,
so on
and
and so forth.
how do I buy it? How do I go about buying it? Do I need a digital wallet? Can you explain how all of that works to me? I mean, oh my goodness, I know that my husband came to me the other day saying, I bought a crypto digital wallet, and I'm like, what the heck? So
Sure.
Explain to these folks, please.
Sure, so I mean, it's very simple. You sign up, let's say you use Coinbase, right? You sign up on Coinbase, you'll get a user ID and a password. And it's basically pretty intuitive from there. They will give you a digital wallet, and then once you purchase your Bitcoin or Ethereum, it goes into that wallet, and you can transfer it, anywhere in the world.
Okay, and that's for the individual, but one of the things that I know a lot of companies are thinking of actually investing in cryptocurrencies themselves, and I guess I'm using the right term, investing. Is it considered investing? Is that?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Certainly, that's how it's being treated. Bitcoin initially was envisioned to be basically a currency for medium of exchange. That has not really panned out, right? So everyone is certainly purchasing these for the store of value, or as you say, for investment purposes.
Okay, and so can you explain? I know that we talked about this a little bit earlier off camera, but because we're all just so interested in this right now, how can a company go about setting up their own digital currency, their own cryptocurrency, and what would be the point? Why do it?
Sure. Okay. So what's happening right now is a lot of companies are issuing their own tokens on the Ethereum platform. So Ethereum is a separate blockchain, a separate blockchain from Bitcoin, which means you cannot send a Bitcoin to the Ethereum protocol, or it would get lost.
Right.
Okay. So right now, there's in the future. There's this idea that possibly you would be able to have some sort of interoperability, but right now we don't have that. So think of Ethereum as a operating system, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. So think of it as iOS or Android. Without apps built on top of it, it really doesn't have very much use, right? So a lot of companies are issuing tokens on the Ethereum network. They're called ERC20 tokens. Mm-hmm. And those tokens actually serve a particular function within the app that they're creating.
Okay, and so do you think that this is going to be something, blockchains, cryptocurrencies, eventually going to be regulated by governments? I mean, I think we saw Vladimir Putin, one of the most recent stories, says that he wants to create the crypto ruble, and so is this something that other countries are going to follow suit and do as well? Probably.
I mean, more likely than not, because our war is digital, right? It's just easier to send money wirelessly. So yes, I believe that that's coming, but I mean, I still think that there's a role for decentralized cryptocurrency as well.
Okay, and kind of speaking on a broader term, I mean, is it too late to invest in something like Bitcoin, or would you, suggest people kind of look at some of these other digital currencies out there right now? How much would you even need to invest in it?
Sure, that's a great question. I get asked that a lot. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say. So I mean, it's hard to say. I always caution people to not invest in something that they don't understand. So I would say step one is obviously don't invest more than what you can afford to lose. And number two is learn the technology, right? And then understand the tech. And I think that will make things a lot easier because cryptocurrencies, by their nature, they're very volatile. So if you understand the tech and you believe in the tech, it's a lot easier to hold when it's crashing, right?
Well, with that being said, I mean, what are the risks? What are you risking when you invest in something like Bitcoin or another digital currency that you see on the market?
Right, I think you should be prepared to risk all of it because, like I said, we don't know if Bitcoin is going to be around 10, 20, 30 years from now. It'll be around, but we don't know what the value that's going to be associated with it.
Okay, and you should be careful as far as digital currencies go, which one you search for, which one you decide to invest in, because from my knowledge, not all of it converts to cash. Am I right? I know that Bitcoin you can trade out for cash, but not some of these other ones. So I know that some people are like, hey, maybe this coin is going to become the next Bitcoin, but in reality, it's kind of more of a tool that you were talking about for some of the companies that are creating it more so than it is.
Right. Some of these other cryptocurrency, technically you can convert them to cash or fiat, but it's a little bit more difficult. So what I mean by that is that usually what happens is someone who's completely new, they don't own any digital currency, they sign up through Coinbase or Gemini, and they're only limited to basically 3 cryptocurrencies, 2 or 3. Right? So Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin on Coinbase. So they pay fiat, and they're able to purchase these 3. And if they want to convert that into and purchase other cryptocurrencies, the 1,300 that are out there right now, they would have to deposit Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin to what is called a secondary exchange that allows you to trade for other alternative coins.
If you were to want to cash out your cryptocurrency, your Bitcoin, where do you go to do it?
Okay, so you would just cash out your cryptocurrency in the same manner in which you obtain them. So for instance, if you purchased it on Coinbase, you would just sell it on Coinbase and they would just give you fiat for it. And so again, on Coinbase, you're able to attach your bank account and you could do a wire or ACH.
Okay, and actually I have another question too. As far as learning how to trade, I mean, it seems like there's a YouTube video being created every day for this stuff. Is there any advice or suggestion that you have as far as somebody that's interested in learning? Is there a trick to it? I mean, is there something that we all need to know to be able to find what coin is going to do the best next?
Right, so there are a lot of moving parts. You can look at technical analysis, you can look at market sentiment, right, network effect. There's so much, but I really truly believe that at the end of the day, the best tech is going to win out. Right, so right now there are a lot more businesses that are open to the idea of accepting Bitcoin for their product or services. But the practical aspect of that is that people are not actually paying with cryptocurrencies because they would prefer to hold it because they believe the value a month from now is going to be a lot higher than they are now.
So they just keep on holding it.
Exactly. But the benefits for a business to accept is that you pretty much have instant transaction, not necessarily confirmation. That comes a little bit later whenever that particular block is confirmed, but you're able to get your funds instantaneously. With my understanding with credit card is that you have to wait for the credit card company to make a deposit to your account the following day.
This kind of takes me back to a question that I asked you earlier that I want to go a little bit more in depth on, because I know that a lot of people watching this are investors, they are business folks that kind of want to learn how they can get involved and if this is something that's even worth it for them. So as far as what cryptocurrency can do for you or your business, I mean, what can it do for you? As far as your business goes, the companies that you're helping right now, I mean, you're a lawyer here, you're an attorney helping a lot of these companies, these ICOs, as you said, start it. What is the point?
What is the point of the tokens that they're creating?
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of these guys are creating applications on top of the Ethereum network. And these apps, so I'll give you an example. It could be a game, it could be anything. Mm-hmm. And these tokens have some sort of function on the actual app. So, that's why they do it. Whether or not individuals should go out there and create their own ICOs, probably not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, is this something that you think is going to last? I mean, are digital currencies sticking around forever?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the tech is here to stay. Like I said, we just don't know which cryptocurrencies are going to be around or they're going to have value. So it's no different from what happened in the late '90s with the .com boom and subsequent bust. Right? We got some fantastic companies out of it, but we just don't know which ones.
What would be your advice to some of these companies right now thinking about it? Is it something that they should be positioning themselves for right now? Is digital currency, should it be on their radar?
It should. I mean, it doesn't hurt to do some research, right, to understand the space. And like I said, I think there's a lot more room for growth.
Okay, and just a quick question, is there anything that you can do to help specific individuals if they wanted to, contact you, or how can you help them?
Sure, I mean, I'm always around to answer questions, so they can look me up. My website is cryptocurrencylegalhelp.com, and they can just send me an email. I'm always around.
Okay, great, and make sure that you tell her that you found her on Real Investment News' interview here.